Carroll Cole, an American serial killer who was active during the late 1970s and early 1980s. He is often considered one of the most dangerous criminals in the history of the United States, but for many years, he flew under the radar. It's only through careful investigation and piecing together fragments of evidence that we've learned the full scope of his crimes. Born on May 9, 1938, in the small town of Sioux City, Iowa, Carroll Cole's early life was troubled from the start. He came from a broken family. His father was reportedly abusive, and he was said to have been emotionally and physically neglected by his mother. This kind of upbringing can have a devastating effect on a child's mental development. In Cole's case, it contributed to a deep sense of anger and frustration that he would later take out on innocent victims. As a young man, Cole enlisted in the military, but he didn't seem to find any stability or sense of purpose there either. His time in the service didn't improve his mental state, and in fact it might have intensified his feelings of disconnection. His interactions with people, particularly women, were often marked by violence, control, and aggression. In fact, many believe his deep hatred for women stemmed from both his early life experiences and failed relationships. His first known murder took place in 1976, when he was 38 years old. His victim, a woman named Anna, was murdered in Las Vegas, Nevada. At the time, he was living a pretty nomadic life, drifting from city to city, constantly looking for new opportunities, but mostly staying under the radar. The killing of Anna was brutal, but Cole wasn't immediately caught. He would go on to commit more murders over the next several years. Now, the thing about Carroll Cole was that his killings were cold, methodical, and disturbingly predatory. His victims were mostly women, though he killed a few men as well. It was later revealed that Cole had a specific pattern. He would usually meet his victims in public spaces, bars, motels, or on the street. He would charm them, maybe even pretend to be in need of help, before attacking them in the privacy of a motel room or secluded area. He strangled most of them, but it's believed that he used other methods of murder, like stabbing, depending on the situation. Throughout this period, Cole was extremely careful. He didn't leave behind much physical evidence. No fingerprints, no witnesses. It made it very difficult to tie him to the crimes. He was also a master at blending into different environments, which is why he was able to move across state lines without raising suspicion. For years, he managed to slip through law enforcement's fingers. It wasn't until he was finally arrested in 1980, after a series of other violent acts that would eventually get him convicted, that investigators began to unravel the truth about his deadly history. One of the major breakthroughs came when Cole was being interrogated for a different crime. He had been involved in a serious altercation that had caught the attention of local police. During that questioning, he began confessing to his involvement in multiple murders. In fact, Cole eventually confessed to the murders of at least 14 people, though he is suspected of many more. The actual number of his victims is still unknown. What makes Cole's case so chilling is the lack of any real remorse on his part. He didn't express guilt or sympathy for his victims. Instead, he described his killings in a disturbingly casual manner. He admitted that he felt little emotion during the murders, only a sense of satisfaction when he was able to exercise complete control over his victims. His ability to compartmentalize his actions and even defend them as a necessary release is what made him particularly dangerous. There's something else to note about Cole's personality. In addition to his violent tendencies, he also displayed a deep sense of narcissism. He had a distorted view of himself as someone superior to others, which played into his urge to dominate those around him. His behavior wasn't just about rage, it was about power. After his arrest, investigators went through his life history, looking for any sign of why he'd become the killer he was. It seemed like he'd always had trouble connecting with others, and he certainly never had a healthy relationship with women. Experts believe that Cole's disconnection from society and his twisted views on relationships may have been the ultimate drivers behind his deadly behavior. In 1984, Carroll Cole was convicted of 6 murders and sentenced to death. But the legal system in California had a long delay in carrying out the death penalty. His sentence was eventually commuted to life in prison when California abolished the death penalty in 1972. But Cole remained behind bars until his death. He died of natural causes in 1985, just a year after he was incarcerated.